Remember the character in the Four of Cups. They were re-evaluating and closed off to new experiences. Maybe they decided to let go of an emotional situation. The Five of Cups shows a loss of some kind. A lot of times this card appears as a loss of a relationship, something breaking or ending very unhappily. When we apply the meaning of change, the number 5 to the suit of cups, we find emotional matters. They're unstable and leading to sadness. Notice the mourning cloak and the spilt cups. Those cups that are laying down emphasize loss. Also notice the cup standing behind. The two cups represent what the seeker can salvage or connect to in their life. Although this current situation, they may not be able to see these cups behind them. When you're dealing with someone who has this card in their reading, it's important to advise the person to accept the loss. That is true. It really is a sacrifice for them. And this may be an upset. It may be something that makes them sad or angry or hurt or even bitter. But the message here is to open their minds and to focus on what they still having going on for themselves. To start focusing on the present and positivity. A lot of times this card can also mean a loss, but also a gain through taking the loss. Sacrifice can be an exchange of something lesser for something greater. This card can also represent a romance, a marriage, or a family breakup. The seeker experiences emotional loss or disappointment. There is a communication breakdown in the situation. Advise the seeker to turn the cups that are still full. They need to turn around and move forward. They're still looking at the past. And they need to get out of the grief of what has been lost. The seeker should appreciate the loved ones and the good connections around them, because life holds promise for them. And there is good that is coming around or around them now, they just can't see it. A lot of times for me, I also find that the Five of Cups lets me know that there's a spirit around. So many times I'll get a spirit that's there. Usually I find it's a female spirit that comes through this card. The 5 can represent a him or a her. And so when this card comes up, something needs to change to break away from the focus of what they're experiencing. And it shows that the person is wearing some kind of black cloak. And this person is hiding their face. And it seems like they're in despair or grief. So the 3 cups that have fallen are the things that did not work. They're done. A lot of times they can also represent 3 loved ones that are in spirit. But 3 have fallen, or there's 3 things from the past. But the 2 standing behind the person represents their future. So they may not even know that those good cups are behind them, leading them into the future, because they're too busy mourning over what has fallen. But if you take a look at the card, you're going to see that there is a powerful river that flows between the person and the castle in the distance. That indicates that there is a torrent of emotions that are keeping them separated from home. So that river represents what they're feeling and experiencing. So the 5 of Cups represents disappointment. So if I'm doing a reading for something about the outcome of something that I want to know, and this comes up, I know it's going to disappoint me. That's probably not worth my effort. But it also represents feelings that come when things go differently than we expected. So use this as a guiding card, letting you know that this may go differently than you're expecting. If you're feeling unhappy that a certain situation hasn't really turned out the way you wanted it to be or that you hoped it to be, this card will come up. But instead of moving towards letting yourself be distracted about the things that have got you, you need to move towards a more positive perspective. This card always represents dwelling in the past. It also induces feelings of self-pity and regret. And so that can be a trap. The water that is spilled from the cups shows that you might have missed an opportunity as well. So a lot of times those 3 spilled cups are something that was trying to come, but are done. Just like the 3 cups that were sitting there on the ground in the 4 of cups. So it shows that this problem is emotional. It's not material or financial. So instead of thinking of it as total loss, you have to get the guidance out of it. And it's important to move into a positive perspective and start looking at the future. And this card actually means that there are many issues of letting go. Remember, it's a 5, halfway to your path of total wholeness in the heart. And so letting go of the past is something that people have to do, and they need to find a way of how they can emotionally let themselves let things go. It also shows that they are dwelling and unwilling to learn from the mistakes. And that's really what it is. The card often also represents getting caught up in the past, that they're using excuses to become incapable of moving on. So I always want to know, what story are they telling themselves? Because they will put a form of power or something positive and attach it to the negative as an excuse to not being able to let go. And that's mental. It has nothing to do with what's actually happening. So because of this, there is a high chance of missing out on new joys that the future and the universe is trying to bring. So when this comes up in a reading with relationships, it does mean that there is a breakup. And it could be a grieving breakup. Somebody is going to be more unhappy than the other. It also represents a time of tension in a breakup or in a relationship, as well as sadness. So somebody is not happy in the relationship. And when I see that in my cards, it usually lets me know that the seeker, the person I'm reading that has it, is the one that is not feeling happy. When it comes to an upright career or job or enterprise, the meaning represents taking a step back in your career, that there could be a loss of some kind taking place. Maybe it's a business loss, maybe it's a job loss, but there's some kind of disappointment. And financially, if this card comes up, it represents financial loss. But there are things to salvage, and that financial loss has to do with some kind of lesson that needs to be learned about why they're in that situation.